Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The DRF Bets race of the day for Saturday, February the 9th. Kentucky Derby points are on the line in the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes, race number 11 at Tampa Bay Downs. Stakes-laden card at Tampa Bay on Saturday. You're going to want to get involved with a DRF Bets account. When you sign up at bets.drf.com and deposit $50, you get to bet with $200. Let's meet the field of 3-year-olds getting set to go a mile and a 16th in the Sam F. Davis. You can access free Formulator Pass performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Download them and handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the number 1 Counter Offer. Matt, Counter Offer's only lifetime win came on the turf. He is still a little bit of a question mark on dirt, but distance won't be an issue, and it looks like he'll get a little pace to run into in this spot.
I suppose those things all work in his favor, but to be honest with you, I go back, I look at that most recent run from Tampa. This horse had a pretty good trip, all things considered. He followed the Pletcher horse, who's going to run into here again, So Alive. And it looked like he's actually going to go on by him. And then ultimately the Pletcher horse rallies on down on the inside, running very, very greenly. To be honest with you, I don't like either of those horses in this spot. And if I had to pick one of the two, I'd go with Todd's horse.
Speaking of pace, the number 2 Going for Gold is going to be part of the pace. And how can't he? He's stretching out from 6 furlongs to a mile and a 16th after showing the way in both sprint starts. He's got blinkers on. He's got a good inside post position. He's also still a maiden that's blown a clear lead in his last 2 races. So distance could be a question mark as he steps up in class and faces pace pressure right next door.
I'm concerned about a number of things with this horse. He's got the situation we're taking on winners, really, for the first time, and he's still himself not a winner yet, 2 times a runner-up. Adding equipment, stretching out in distance, a different track for the first time. There's so many things going against him in a spot like this. I think he's a pace factor, and that's it.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. The red bar indicates our friends at Timeform US believes the pace will be fast. They have the 2 Going for Gold out there with the 3 Knicks Go, who is the most accomplished horse in this race. He pulled off a 70-1 shocker in last fall's Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, and then proved that that race was no fluke by finishing second behind champion game winner in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Now, a lot of things conspired against this horse last time out, Matt. A, the sloppy track. B, he had to go too fast in the early portion of the race. And C, I think he bounced off those 2 hard races.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. We've talked about it. It's sort of the race after the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup's the goal for so many of these connections and these horses. And then that next race following, I don't want to call it an afterthought, but it's basically just hoping that you're that much better than whoever you end up going against. And with these 2-year-olds, I don't think it's ever a guarantee that you're going to continue to maintain that form. And I agree with you. He ran a giant race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Admittedly, I don't love the Juvenile as a whole, but you've got to look at it and say he ran arguably as good a race as Game Winner did, just simply because he was the only part of the pace that was really around late. I look at it and say I'm still not totally convinced that he is at his best off of the pace, but at the end of the day, if you're really talking about it, 3-1 possibility on a horse like this who's the most accomplished and has run fast races, I don't think I could talk anybody off of taking this horse.
The number 4 Cave Run was a very impressive debut winner at Tampa Bay for trainer Owen Hardy. Now, that race was over a sealed, sloppy track, but it was faster than the 2-year-old stakes race at Tampa Bay at the same distance that day. We liked the race so much, we wanted to give him a chance, and a lot of folks did as well in the Pasco, where he was the beaten 7-5 favorite. Now, he ran into a monster, I think, in win-win-win, who could be any kind, and he didn't exactly have the right kind of setup for his late running style. This horse is bred to stretch out. He's going to get some pace in this spot. We just got to find out if he's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was, and we kind of alluded to it heading into that Pasco, was the way that he won in his debut was visually very impressive, but it was a slow pace and it was over a sloppy sealed track. And was it more a product of him handling the off-going and everyone else that he ran against hating it? Or was he really something that, you know, maybe we've got a serious 3-year-old here? Ultimately, he comes back. He runs in the Pasco. I don't think it was awful, but it certainly wasn't nearly as good as the winner, win-win-win. And to be honest, he was never really even shouting distance of the Pletcher horse there, over-deliver. And I don't think that horse is all that good. I'm mixed on this horse. I went from loving him in the Pasco to looking at him saying, prove it to me that you belong here.
The 5 Moonster looks overmatched on paper. That's why he's 30-1 on the morning line. He took on Federal Case last time out. He got beat a country mile by that horse. That horse did nothing in the Holy Bull. but he is trained by Dale Romans, who sent out that 1,000,000-to-1 shot to run second in the Holy Bull last week. Moonster's going out for hot connections, but on paper, he kind of needs a pace collapse, I think.
I could be wrong. Same ownership group, too, I believe, Calumet. But you're right. I mean, I just look at this horse on paper and I go, where's the race that makes him a legitimate threat in here to even hit the board, let alone actually threaten to win this thing? He hasn't run fast here. I suppose that second lifetime start at Churchill, you can make the case that was his best race to date. That was at a one-turn mile. There's not much here that I can recommend. But again, based on what we saw last weekend, anything is possible in one of these 3-year-old races.
The 6th Kentucky Wildcat, I believe, has a lot of things going for him. First is pedigree. He's by Tappet out of the multiple Grade 1 stakes-winning turf router Better Lucky, who was versatile enough to finish second in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint on the dirt. Kentucky Wildcat, by any speed figure metric that you're going with, whether it's Beyer or Timeform US, has improved with each and every start. And last time out, he beat 3 next-out winners and was 5 wide in the early portion of the race. I thought it was a very professional performance. You can rate off of this fast pace, 9-2 for Joe Bravo. Tommy Albertrani over the years has sent out many turf horses to do well at Tampa Bay Downs. I think Kentucky Wildcat's a major player.
Yeah, I'm very torn on this horse because from a numbers standpoint, he makes all the sense in the world. He's arguably the horse to beat on numbers, but that most recent run, I'd be lying if I said I loved it. I know you had 3 next out winners in there, but the runner-up that day, Country House, I know he was a next out winner and people have talked about him quite highly. He was 49-1 that day. In his next start, he won, but he won with a 70 Beyer. Your 4th place finisher won next out with an 81, but the 9th place finisher, who was also a next out winner, 66 on grass. I don't know how good that race was. And Timeform US also had the main track at Aqueduct speed friendly that day, and I understand this horse was 2 or 3 lengths off of it down the backside, but ultimately he was in a really good position. He was wide, but if you're arguably the best horse, don't you want to just make sure you're in the clear and there's no hiccups? I'm torn. I can understand if all of a sudden he shows up and just blows the doors off this field. I could also understand if he's a little bit disappointing here on Saturday.
5-Star General has looked good in his last 2 races for Arnaud Delacour, been a combination of the addition of blinkers and the stretch out to the 1-turn mile at both Laurel and Aqueduct. Going to try 2 turns for the first time here. This horse likes to be forwardly placed. Timeform US has him sitting 3rd off the 2 speeds. I think that's where Jose Ortiz is going to have him, and he'll be in a good spot when the field swings into the stretch. The question is, again, is he good enough? But he paired up Beyer Tops in his last 2 wins.
I'm also a little bit dubious about distance. I didn't like the fact that, now maybe it was just a matter of him being out there by his lonesome and getting bored, but he was on his left lead for the final 1/8 of a mile up at Aqueduct. There's just a part of me that looks at it and says, I don't think he beat a heck of a lot that day in that Central Park. The 5th place finisher came back, earned a 72 Beyer. Again, another horse. I won't be surprised at all if he takes a step up. But I don't love him, and I hate to say it, but that's kind of the blanket statement for me with this entire field. Won't be surprised if anyone jumps up. Also won't be surprised if any of them completely bomb.
Number 8, So Alive, goes out for Todd Pletcher, Javier Castellano. Pletcher trained this horse's half-brother Vino Rosso to win the Wood Memorial last year after finishing 3rd in the Sam F. Davis. This horse improved with blinkers last time out, but I'm not sure what he beat at Tampa that day.
Yeah, and you know what the crazy thing is? He looked like Vino Rosso out there. No idea what he's doing. Goofy with the lead changes very early, just kind of a long-legged looking thing. I mean, look, Javier's coming into town to ride this horse. I think you're at a point now where you have to take a shot anytime you could potentially have a Derby mount. But I look at him and go, I can't trust him right now. I have no idea if he's good enough.
How about Well Defined as a dirtied up horse, maybe to spoil the party at a nice price for Kathleen O'Connell? 8-1 on the morning line. This horse Beyer to 91 at this mile and a 16th distance as a 2-year-old, then was thrown to the Wolves in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And then last time out in the Mucho Macho Man Stakes, he was caught up in that very fast and competitive pace. Trophy Chaser, a very fast horse, part of the pace, emerged with the lead. Well Defined backed up. Blinkers come on here. I think this horse can be part of a crowded pace picture once again. That's what worries me, but he does have that 1 race on paper.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, you and I look at it exactly the same. I do think he's dirtied up. I think there's some ability here, but his running style is the thing that really turned me off. I just think there is so much other speed, or projected speed anyway, that the blinkers on, you can't help but think he's going to be forwardly placed. I just do wonder if sort of the pace dynamic of this race is to his undoing.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Sam F. Davis Stakes. You're going to the far outside, the number 10, Still Dreaming. You want to talk about Kentucky Derby connections? He has them in spades.
Yeah, he really does. Graham Motion, obviously, we know he won the Derby with Animal Kingdom. This horse right here, he's by Flatter, but he's a half-brother to Nyquist, who was a Kentucky Derby winner as well. West Point Thoroughbreds, we know what they are capable of, and they were obviously involved with Always Dreaming at one point. Again, I hate to just throw a blanket statement out, but I don't love anyone in this race. I won't be surprised if anyone jumps up. I won't be surprised if anyone runs terribly. This horse, I thought it was a good enough effort. 1 mile stretching out in distance at Laurel. He was under a little bit of pressure on the far turn, but I like the way that he leveled off. My concern is there was a slow pace that day, and he was sitting a really good trip in the grand scheme. And so far, the race has come back very, very weak. The runner-up, I know, is a next out winner, but only with a 67. He needs to prove that he belongs here. I don't think the distance is going to be an issue, but at the end of the day, I just don't know that I'd take a short price on any one of these horses. I believe he's 15-1 on the line. Maybe I'd take a flyer with him, but again, this is a race I'm more going to sit back and watch.
You're getting the 3 Ps, pedigree, potential, and most importantly, price, with the number 10 still dreaming. Give me numbers.
10, 3, 6, and 4, but I can't say it enough. This is more sit back and see how everything shakes down.
We'll talk about Saturday's pick 4, late pick 4 tomorrow when we throw up our tickets. Something tells me you're going to be spreading in this race. I like Kentucky Wildcat a little bit. I think you made some very poignant points about what maybe I am missing about that maiden race, but I was visually impressed. I love this pedigree. I think this horse has a nice ideal post position and the right running style for a fast pace. Got to stay around that 9-2 price though, however. Kentucky Wildcat my pick in the grade 3 Sam F. Davis. It's a great card at Tampa Bay on Saturday. Make sure you get involved with a DRF Bets account. It is easy. Go to bets.drf.com, deposit $50, start firing away with $200. Ready, set, bet with DRF Bets. Approximate post time for the Sam F. Davis, 5:25 Eastern on Saturday. Good luck.